The alien market was alive with noise, lights, and strange smells. Merchants shouted to sell their goods. Bright banners hung from high poles. And creatures from many worlds walked the narrow paths. But in the center of the square, there was a stage, and on that stage, something dark was about to happen. A small alien girl was pushed forward by two large guards. Her skin was pale blue, her eyes wide with fear, and she was trembling. She wore no clothes, only thin chains around her wrists and ankles. The crowd laughed and pointed, their voices mixing into a cruel storm of noise. Some shouted prices, others made jokes, and a few just stared with hungry eyes. She tried to cover herself, but the guards forced her hands down. Every heartbeat felt heavy. Every moment felt like a knife. She remembered the day they took her from her home, the sound of breaking doors, the shouts, the fire. And then the cold of a cage. Since then, every day had been a blur of fear and hunger. And now she was here, for sale like an object, the auctioneer. A tall alien with 4 arms and a mouth full of sharp teeth stepped forward. Here she is, he shouted, a rare beauty from the Andri system, young and strong, perfect for work or other uses. The crowd roared, some calling out higher bids. The girl shut her eyes, wishing she could disappear. Among the crowd, a human man stood quietly. He was tall, wearing a long dark coat, and his face was calm, unlike the others. He did not laugh, he did not shout. His eyes were fixed on the girl, watching, thinking. He could see the fear in her face, and something inside him tightened. The auctioneer called for the next bid. A fat merchant raised his hand. Shouting a high price, the crowd cheered, but then the human's voice broke through. "I'll pay double," he said. The market went silent for a moment. All eyes turned to him. Some laughed, others whispered. Why would a human want her? The auctioneer's eyes narrowed. "Double. From you?" The human stepped forward, his voice steady. "Yes, double, right now." The auctioneer grinned with sharp teeth. "Sold," the crowd murmured. Disappointed they had lost the game, the guards dragged the girl toward the edge of the stage. She did not know who this human was or what he wanted, but then he did something no one expected. He took off his coat and placed it around her shoulders. The warm fabric fell over her like a shield. For the first time in days, she felt covered. Safe from the eyes of the crowd, the girl looked up at him, her lips parting as if to speak. But no words came out, only a small breath. The human gave her a nod. "You're coming with me," he said softly. The guards scoffed, handing him the chain's key. The crowd began to disperse, their fun over, as they walked away. The girl clutched the coat tightly. Her steps were small and shaky, but she followed. The human kept a steady pace, scanning the crowd as if looking for trouble. Far behind them, in the shadow of a stall, a figure watched. Its eyes glowed faintly, and its mouth twisted into a thin smile. The figure stepped back into the darkness. Following them silently, the girl glanced over her shoulder, but saw nothing. Her heart was still racing, her mind trying to understand what had just happened. Why had he bought her? Why had he covered her? And where were they going? The market's noise faded as they turned into a quieter street. The human finally spoke again. "You don't have to talk now," he said. "But you're safe." Safe. The word felt strange. To her, almost unreal, but the weight of the coat and the calm in his voice made her want to believe it. They reached the edge of the market where a small ship was waiting. The ramp lowered with a soft hum. He gestured for her to go inside. For a moment, she hesitated, looking back at the market, the place of shame and fear. She turned away from it and stepped into the ship. The human followed, the ramp closing behind them. In the darkness outside, the shadowy figure tilted its head. It tapped a small device on its wrist, sending a message into the air. A message. to someone who would pay a great deal to know where the girl was. The hunt had already begun. Asterisk. The ship's engines hummed softly as the human guided the girl to a small seat near the wall. She sat down slowly, her hands still clutching the coat, tightly around her body. The smell of the fabric was strange but clean, and it carried the warmth of someone who had worn it for a long time. Her eyes stayed on the floor. Afraid to meet his gaze for too long, the human moved to the front and began pressing buttons on the control panel. Bright lights flashed, and the ship lifted off the ground. The marketplace shrank beneath them, its noise replaced by the steady hum of the ship. Through the small window, she saw the alien city spread out like a maze of steel and lights. It felt unreal that she was leaving it. When the ship reached the sky, the human turned in his seat. "You can keep that coat," he said, his voice calm. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, unsure how to answer. He seemed to understand. "I don't expect you to trust me yet," he added, "but I'm not here to hurt you." His words sank into her mind slowly. For days, all she had heard were orders, threats, and cruel laughter. Now, this man was speaking. Gently, without shouting, without trying to touch her in ways that made her skin crawl. It was strange, and she didn't know if she could believe it. He stood and walked to a small storage box near the wall. From it, he pulled a soft blanket and handed it to her. "You must be cold," he said. She hesitated, then took it, wrapping it over the coat. The warmth spread through her, and she let out a small sigh she didn't realize she had been holding. "Do you have a name?" he asked after a moment. She looked at him, her lips parting. But then she shook her head. It wasn't that she didn't have a name. She did, but it felt dangerous to give it. He nodded as if he understood. "You can tell me when you're ready." The ship glided through the clouds and into the black of space. Stars shone all around, and a faint glow from a distant sun lit the edge of a planet below. She had not seen the stars since the night her home was taken from her. For a moment, she forgot the fear, staring at the endless beauty outside. The human sat again. Checking the navigation screen, he noticed her gaze. "It's better out here," he said. "No chains, no markets, no crowds shouting at you." The words made her chest tighten. It sounded like a promise, but she had heard promises before. And they always broke. Far behind them, in the dark space near the city, a small ship detached from a docking bay. Inside, the shadowy figure from the market adjusted the controls. Its eyes glowed faintly in the dim light, and its voice was low as it spoke into a communicator. "They have her," it said. "I'm following," a distorted voice replied. "Don't lose them." Back inside the human ship, he moved to the food unit and began preparing something. The smell was warm and unfamiliar. He placed a small plate in front of her. "Eat," he said. She looked at the food, then at him. When he made no move to rush her, she picked up a small piece and tasted it. It was soft, not bitter, not spoiled like the scraps she had been given before. She ate slowly at first, then faster, her hunger too strong to hide. He didn't laugh or comment. Just let her finish. When she was done, she leaned back, her eyes heavy. It had been so long since she had eaten enough. The human noticed and said, "You can rest here." Pointing to a small bed in the corner, she hesitated, looking from the bed to him. "I'll be here," he said, sitting back in his seat. "You're safe." The word came again, and she wanted to believe it. She lay down. Still wrapped in the coat and blanket, her body relaxed for the first time in what felt like years. Sleep pulled at her, but in the edge of her mind, she remembered the shadowy figure at the market. Something told her this was not over while she slept. The human adjusted the ship's course. He was taking a longer route to avoid main trade lanes. He knew someone might come after her. After them, he had seen the way the crowd reacted, the way certain faces turned dark when he took her. This was not just a simple rescue. There would be trouble far out in the void. The follower's ship matched their path, keeping its distance. The figure inside smiled coldly. There was no rush. It knew where they were going, and the buyer waiting for her would pay handsomely back on the human ship. The hum of the engines was the only sound the girl stirred in her sleep, a faint frown on her face. Her dreams were filled with the memory of chains. The sound of the auctioneer's voice, and the moment the coat covered her, somewhere deep inside, a small spark of hope began to grow. She didn't know yet if she could trust the human, but she wanted to. The hum of the engines filled the small cabin. The girl lay curled on the narrow bed, the human's coat wrapped tightly around her. For the first time in many nights, the air was not cold, and there were no sharp voices ordering her to stand. To move, to obey, she could feel the soft vibration of the ship beneath her, steady and constant. It felt different from the rough cages she had been kept in. The human sat in the pilot's chair, eyes fixed on the dark space ahead. Stars passed slowly in the distance, and the ship drifted between them like a quiet shadow every few minutes. He checked the radar, scanning for anything unusual. He had learned long ago that peace in space never lasted. After some time, she stirred and opened her eyes. The dim light made everything seem calm, almost safe. She pushed herself up, clutching the coat. Her voice was soft, almost unsure where. "Are we going?" The human turned his chair halfway toward her. "Somewhere far from that market," he said. "A place where no one will find you." She lowered her eyes. "Someone always finds me." His expression didn't change, but his voice was firm. Not this time. She studied his face. Searching for signs of a lie, there was no sneer. No cruel smile, just a steady gaze. It made her chest tighten in a way she didn't understand. She wanted to believe him, but the weight of her past made it hard. He stood and moved to a small cabinet, pulling out a bottle of clear water. "Here," he said, handing it to her. She took it slowly, sipping as if it might disappear if she drank too fast. The cool taste was clean, unlike the stale liquid she had been given before. When she finished, she whispered, "Thank you." The human nodded. "You're welcome." He didn't push her to say more. Instead, he sat at a small table near the side wall, spreading out a map of star systems. She watched him for a moment, curiosity slipping past her fear. "What's your name?" She asked. "Rogan," he said, not looking up. "And yours?" She hesitated, then looked away. "I can't," she said softly. "Then I'll wait." Rogan replied without anger. The simple answer made something strange twist inside her. No one had ever been patient with her before. Outside the ship, the stars seemed to shift. But far behind them, in the cold dark, a smaller ship kept pace. Inside, the shadowy figure adjusted its course, its glowing eyes narrowing. It had tracked many targets before, but this one was different. The buyer wanted her alive, but didn't care about the human, and that could be used. Hours passed, and Rogan prepared a small meal. The smell filled the cabin, warm and rich. He placed a plate in front of her. "Eat," he said simply. This time, she didn't hesitate. The food was soft and fresh, and with each bite, the tight knot in her stomach began to loosen. After the meal, Rogan checked a panel on the wall. A faint red light was blinking. His eyes narrowed. It was a signal, faint but real, coming from somewhere nearby. He quickly shut it off before the girl noticed. No need to tell her yet. If she thought the danger was still close, she might panic. She lay back on the bed, eyes half closed. The coat felt heavy in a comforting way, like a shield against the cold memories in her head. Her breathing slowed, and for a moment, she forgot the chains, the market, and the shouting in the quiet hum of the ship. She almost felt safe, but Rogan didn't rest. He adjusted the course again, steering toward a narrow corridor between asteroid fields. It would be slower, but harder for anyone to follow. He had done jobs like this before, moving people who needed to disappear. But this time, something felt different. Heavier. This wasn't just a job. In her sleep, the girl began to mumble. Rogan turned, watching as her face tightened with fear. Her hands clutched the blanket, and her voice shook. No. Don't take me. He walked over and spoke quietly. It's all right. You're safe now. Her breathing eased, and she turned onto her side, still holding the coat like a lifeline. Rogan sat back down, but his eyes stayed on her. He knew she was running from more than just the slavers. There was a story behind those eyes, something important, and whatever it was, it had made her worth chasing. Outside, the shadowy figure's ship crept closer. The figure's voice was low as it spoke into its communicator, almost in range. The distorted reply came back. Don't engage yet. Wait for my signal. The figure smiled, its teeth glinting in the dark. Patience, it thought, would make the capture sweeter. Back inside the small cabin, Rogan finally leaned back, his eyes heavy from hours without rest. He would keep watch until they reached the safe zone. But deep down, he knew the journey ahead would not be quiet. The girl's first night of safety might be the only one she would get for a long time. Asterisk, the girl woke to the faint sound of beeping. Her eyes blinked open, adjusting to the dim light. Of the cabin, Rogan was at the control panel, his eyes locked on the radar screen. His jaw was tight, his hands steady. She could tell something was wrong. What is it? She asked, her voice still heavy from sleep. He glanced over his shoulder. Nothing you need to worry about, but his tone said otherwise. She sat up, holding the coat around her. You're lying. Rogan gave a small sigh. We have company, he said finally. Her stomach turned cold. Slavers. She whispered. He nodded once, probably on the radar. A small dot pulsed steadily. It was far behind them, but moving at the same speed. Whoever it was, they weren't just passing by, they were following. Rogan tapped a series of controls, shifting the ship's course. Stars outside changed position as the vessel angled toward a dense asteroid belt. The engines hummed louder. This will buy us some time, he said. She stared at him. They'll find us. He looked back at her, his eyes steady. Not? If I can help it. The asteroid field grew closer, massive rocks spinning slowly in the darkness. Some were the size of small moons, others no larger than a building. Rogan weaved the ship between them, the metal hull creaking softly with each sharp turn. The girl clutched the seat straps, her heart racing. She had never flown through a place like this. One wrong move, and the ship could shatter. In the shadowy ship behind them, the figure's glowing eyes narrowed. The asteroids made the chase harder, but not impossible. Its hands danced over the controls, guiding the smaller craft through the twisting stone maze. A grin spread across its face. The hunt was always more thrilling when the prey tried to run. Back inside Rogan's vessel, the girl's mind raced. Memories of the slavers came flooding back, the cold cages, the shouting, the way they treated her like she wasn't alive. Her hands trembled. She hated feeling helpless. There. Not just after you, because you were at the auction, Rogan said suddenly. Keeping his eyes on the path ahead, the words made her look up sharply. What do you mean? They knew who you were, he said. I saw it in their faces. She swallowed hard, looking away. They took me because I am the daughter of Andre's last leader, she admitted in a small voice. My father was killed when our planet was attacked. I was taken during the raid. Her voice shook. But she kept speaking. If they sell me, they can use me for power, for control over my people. Rogan didn't answer right away. He just nodded slowly, understanding the weight of what she had said. That means we can't just hide, he said finally. We have to get you somewhere safe, somewhere they can't reach. She looked at him. Is there such a place? There's a hidden system, he said. A friend of mine owes me a favor. If we can reach it, you'll be beyond their reach. Suddenly, A loud alarm blared. The radar screen lit up. Another dot had appeared, much closer than before. "They've split up," Rogan muttered. "One in front, one behind." He cursed under his breath and pushed the throttle forward. The ship lurched, weaving between the rocks at dangerous speed. In the following ship, the figure activated a communicator. "Closing in," it said. "She won't escape this time." The voice on the other end was low and eager. "Bring her alive. The human is expendable." The girl's eyes widened. When she saw a flash of light ahead, a second ship blocking their path, its weapons glowed, ready to fire. Rogan gritted his teeth, pulling the ship into a sharp dive. Skimming the edge of a massive asteroid, the enemy's shots missed by inches, exploding against the rock. The chase turned into a deadly dance. Rogan's hands moved fast, guiding the ship through narrow gaps and sharp turns. Every second, the girl expected the hull to tear apart. But somehow, they stayed ahead. Barely, the figure ship closed in from behind. The second ship moved to cut them off. It was a trap. Rogan's eyes darted to a spinning asteroid with a hollow core ahead. "We're going through," he said. The girl shook her head. "That's too small." He didn't answer. The ship roared forward, slipping into the asteroid's tunnel. Metal scraped against stone as they rushed through the twisting passage. Light flashed at the far end. An exit. They burst out the other side, just as the pursuing ships fired. The shots hit the asteroid instead, breaking it into pieces. Rogan pulled the ship upward, speeding away into open space. The radar showed only empty stars now. The girl let out a shaky breath. You did it," she said. "Not yet," Rogan replied. "They'll be back, and next time, they'll be ready." He set a course toward the hidden system. The engines hummed steady again, but the air in the cabin stayed tense for the girl. Safety still felt far away, and for Rogan, the chase had only just begun. The ship drifted quietly through the dark stretch of space. The stars outside looked calm, but inside, both Rogan and the girl knew danger was still behind them. The chase had ended for now, but the enemy would not give up so easily. Every moment felt like borrowed time. The girl sat near the control panel, watching Rogan work. His hands moved with confidence, pressing switches and adjusting the ship's course. She noticed the way he checked the radar every few minutes, his eyes sharp and focused. He didn't look scared, only ready. Something about that made her feel a little steadier inside. "Have you ever flown a ship?" Rogan asked suddenly. She blinked, surprised by the question. "No," she said. "I've never even touched the controls." He gave a small nod. "Then it's time you learn." Her eyes widened. "Me?" "Yes," he said simply. "If something happens to me, you'll need to know how to keep yourself alive." The thought made her chest tighten. She didn't want to think about something happening to him, but she also didn't want to feel helpless again. He moved to the co-pilot seat and gestured for her to take it. She sat down slowly, her fingers brushing over the smooth metal controls. Rogan leaned closer, pointing to a glowing panel. "This is your main navigation screen," he explained. "It shows where you are, where you're going, and anything." Nearby, she nodded, her eyes fixed on the shifting lights. He guided her through the basic controls: how to steer, how to adjust speed, how to stabilize the ship. At first, her movements were shaky, and the vessel tilted slightly from side to side. "Easy," Rogan said, his voice calm. Small movements. She adjusted, her hands becoming steadier. After a few minutes, the ship glided in a straight line. A small smile touched her lips. "You're doing fine," Rogan said. The praise felt warm in her chest. For the next hour, he taught her how to scan for incoming ships. He showed her how to read the energy levels, how to track nearby objects, and how to activate the basic defense shields. She listened carefully, soaking in every word. She wanted to learn, not just because it might save her, but because it made her feel like she had some control over her life again when they took a break. Rogan brought out a small metal case. Inside were 2 slim blasters. Her eyes widened. "You're going to teach me that too?" she asked. "Yes," he said, handing her the lighter one. "But only for defense, never for anything else." He showed her how to hold it, how to aim without shaking. They set up a small holographic target at the far end of the cabin. Her first few shots missed completely, the blasts fading into the air. She frowned, frustrated. "Slow your breathing," Rogan told her. "Don't fight the weapon. Guide it." She tried again, and this time the shot hit near the target's edge. Her eyes lit up. "That's better," Rogan said with a faint smile. For a while, the cabin felt almost peaceful. The tension of the chase faded, replaced by the steady rhythm of learning. They spoke a little about their lives. She told him small pieces about her home, about the quiet rivers and tall blue trees. Rogan listened. Without interrupting, when she asked about him, he was brief. "I've been many places," he said, "done many jobs. Most of them dangerous." She wondered what kind of life he had before this, but didn't press. Later, while Rogan checked the ship's engines, the girl practiced at the controls. She steered through empty space, imagining she was leading them to safety. But deep down, she knew it wouldn't stay quiet for long. Far away, the shadowy figure's ship floated near a cluster of debris. Its glowing eyes scanned a tracking screen. The prey had gone dark on sensors, but the figure was patient. Patience had always been its strongest weapon. "They'll slip up," it muttered to itself. "They always do." That night, Rogan gave her the co-pilot seat, for real. "You take the watch for a while," he said, settling into the pilot's chair beside her. At first, she felt nervous, afraid she would make a mistake, but Rogan's steady presence kept her calm. He let her guide the ship toward a faint star in the distance. Her hands were steady now, her eyes scanning the radar every few seconds. As the hours passed, the hum of the engines became familiar. She no longer felt like a prisoner on someone else's ship. She felt like part of the crew, even if the crew was only 2 people. And for the first time since the raid on her home, she began to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could survive this. But as the distant star grew larger, a faint beep came from the radar. A small dot appeared at the far edge of the screen. Rogan's eyes narrowed. "They've found us again," he said quietly. The girl's heart skipped. Her training time was over. The chase was about to start once more. The radar beep grew faster. The small dot at the edge of the screen was moving closer. Rogan leaned forward, adjusting the controls, his jaw set. "They've found us," he said, his voice low but steady. The girl gripped the edge of her seat. "What do we do?" "We fight," Rogan replied. "Or we don't make it." The words hit her like a cold wind. She had trained for a short time, but she knew she was not ready for a real battle. Still, there was no choice. The engines roared as Rogan pushed the ship forward. Outside, the stars streaked by. The enemy ship appeared on the radar as a glowing red shape. It was faster and heavier than theirs. The figure inside was smiling. Its glowing eyes locked on the prey ahead. "This ends now," it muttered into its communicator. Rogan switched the ship's shields to maximum. "Remember what I showed you," he told her. "You watch the radar warn me if they try to flank us." She nodded, forcing her hands to steady. The training she had done earlier now felt like the only thing keeping her from freezing in fear. The first blast came from behind, a burst of blue energy that shook the ship. Sparks flew from a panel near the floor, shields at 70%. Rogan said quickly. The girl's eyes scanned the radar. "They're moving to our left." Rogan turned the ship sharply, a shot passing harmlessly into empty space. The enemy kept firing, each blast pushing them closer to the edge. Then another dot appeared on the radar. The girl's voice shook. "There's another one in front of us." Rogan cursed under his breath. 2 ships. One ahead, one behind. It was a trap. "Hold on," Rogan said, his hands moving fast over the controls. He dove the ship downward into a cluster of drifting rocks. The enemy followed, the space between the asteroids lit by weapons fire. Metal scraped against stone as Rogan swerved through narrow gaps. The girl held onto the straps, her heart pounding. So hard it hurt. A shot from the ship in front grazed their side. The cabin shook, alarms blaring. Rogan quickly shut off the warning lights. "We can't outrun them now." His eyes locked on hers. "We'll have to board them before they destroy us." Her breath caught. "Board them." "Yes," he said firmly. "If we disable their ship from inside, the second one might back off." The thought of stepping onto an enemy vessel made her stomach twist. But Rogan's voice left no space for argument. He grabbed the lighter blaster from the weapons case and handed it to her. "You remember what I taught you?" She nodded, though her hands shook. "Stay close to me. Aim only if you have to. And don't hesitate if it's between you or them." Rogan brought the ship close to the enemy vessel, weaving through the fire until they were almost touching. The docking clamps engaged with a loud metallic thud. The hallway lights flickered as the airlocks aligned. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing the dim interior of the enemy ship. The shadowy figure stood there, waiting, its glowing eyes fixed on the girl. Finally, it said, its voice cold, "The prize comes to me." Rogan stepped in front of her, blaster raised. "You're not taking her?" he said. The figure laughed, a low, sharp sound. "You think you can stop me?" In an instant, the fight began. Blasts lit up the narrow corridor. Rogan's shots forced the figure to retreat. 2 more enemies rushed in from the side, weapons ready. The girl raised her blaster. Her breath shaking, she remembered his words. "Slow your breathing. Guide the weapon," she fired, hitting one in the shoulder, sending him crashing into the wall. Rogan took down the second with a clean shot. They pushed forward, the girl staying close behind. The ship trembled as it took fire from the other pursuing vessel. They didn't have much time. At the main control room, Rogan moved quickly, pressing a series of buttons and pulling wires from the enemy's control panels. "Keep watch," he told her. She stood at the doorway, blaster ready. Footsteps pounded from the far hallway. "They're coming," she called. "Almost done." Rogan replied, sparks flying from the panel. The shadowy figure appeared again, this time with a blade in hand. It lunged at Rogan. But the girl stepped forward without thinking. She fired, the blast hitting the figure's side. It staggered back, its glowing eyes narrowing in fury. "You'll regret that," it hissed, retreating into the smoke as alarms blared. "Now," Rogan shouted, pulling her toward the exit. They ran back through the docking corridor just as explosions ripped through the enemy ship. The clamps released, and Rogan's ship pulled away. Through the small window, they saw the damaged vessel, spinning in space, fire spreading along its hull. The second enemy ship paused, then turned sharply, vanishing into the dark. Rogan slumped into the pilot's seat, breathing hard. The girl sat beside him, her hand still shaking. "You saved my life," he said, looking at her with something close to pride. Her voice was small. "You saved mine first." The radar was clear for now, but both of them knew this wasn't over. The shadowy figure had escaped, and it would come for them again. The silence in the cabin felt almost strange after the battle. Only the steady hum of the engines filled the air. The girl sat in the co-pilot seat, still clutching the blaster Rogan had given her. Her hands were calmer now, but her mind kept replaying what had happened, the sound of the figure's voice, the blast of her own weapon, the sight of the enemy ship breaking apart in space. Rogan checked the radar one last time. "All clear," he said, leaning back in his chair. But his eyes still carried the sharpness of someone who knew danger could return at any moment. "They'll be back," she said quietly. Yes, Rogan agreed, but we'll be ready for hours. The ship traveled through the dark. The stars outside stretched into silver lines as they entered hyperspace. The girl rested her head against the seat. She felt tired in a way that went beyond her body. It was the weight of years of fear starting to lift, piece by piece. Rogan finally spoke, his voice quieter than usual. "We're close to the system I told you about." She turned to look at him, the safe one. He nodded. "It's hidden behind a nebula. Outsiders can't find it without the right coordinates." Her chest tightened with something she hadn't felt in a long time, hope, when the ship emerged from hyperspace. The view before them was like a painting. A swirling wall of pink and gold clouds stretched across the stars. Light from a distant sun made the nebula glow like living fire. The girl's eyes widened. "It's beautiful." Rogan guided the ship toward a narrow path through the clouds. "We'll be through in a few minutes," he said, as they moved. Deeper, the colors wrapped around them, blocking out all sight of the outside universe. When they finally broke through the other side, a hidden world appeared before them. It was green and blue, dotted with lakes and silver cities. Ships of many shapes moved through the air above the surface. "This is Haven's Reach," Rogan said, "a place for people who have nowhere else to go." As they descended toward the planet, the girl felt her heartbeat quicken. Would her people be here? Would she be welcome? Or would she still be an outsider, even in a safe place? The ship landed on a platform near the edge of a forest. Warm air filled the cabin as the doors opened. Carrying the scent of flowers and fresh rain, the girl stepped out slowly, her bare feet touching soft ground instead of cold metal for the first time in months. Her eyes swept the area. Tall trees, bright sunlight, and a group of people walking toward them. At the front was a tall, alien man with the same pale blue skin as hers. His eyes widened when he saw her, Lyria. He said, his voice shaking, her breath caught. "No one had called her by her real name in so long, Uncle." She whispered. He reached her in 2 long steps. Pulling her into a tight embrace, tears blurred her vision as she clung to him. "I thought you were gone," he said, his voice thick. "They took me," she said, her words breaking. "But he saved me." She turned toward Rogan, who stood a short distance away, watching quietly. Her uncle approached him. "I owe you more than I can ever repay." Rogan shook his head. "Just keep her safe." The older man nodded. "She will be." For the next few hours, they walked through the settlement. People greeted her with smiles and quiet words. She saw children playing, families cooking, and guards patrolling the walls. It felt alive, safe, and full of the warmth she had almost forgotten existed. Later, as the sun began to set, she found Rogan near his ship. "You're leaving?" she asked, her voice soft. He glanced at her. "I have other places to be, other people who need help." Her chest tightened again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was something like sadness. She stepped closer. "I don't know how to thank you." "You already did," he said. "You survived." She reached into her coat and pulled out a small silver pendant. It was shaped like a leaf from the trees of her homeworld. "This was my mother's," she said, pressing it into his hand. "Keep it so you don't forget that you saved a life worth saving." Rogan looked at it for a long moment, then slipped it into his pocket. "I won't forget," he said. They stood in silence for a moment, the sound of the forest around them. Finally, he stepped toward the ramp of his ship. "Take care of yourself, Lyria," he said. Using her real name for the first time, she smiled faintly. "You too, Rogan." The engines roared to life, and the ship lifted slowly into the sky. She watched until it disappeared into the clouds. The wind brushed her face, carrying the scent of the forest and the distant sea, for the first time since her home was taken. She felt truly free. She turned toward the settlement, her uncle waiting with open arms. This was a new beginning, one she never thought she would have. And somewhere out there, she knew Rogan was flying toward another battle, another rescue, because in a galaxy filled with cruelty, there were still people who chose to bring light.